If you have satellite TV, you have a little dish on your roof, and you pay some number that ends in $9.99 every month for your satellite service. All your shows and maybe video games and music are beamed down to your apartment or your house from a friendly little satellite in the sky. But if your $29.99 or $49.99 a month isn't buying you enough, if you want, for example, to be able to see what your neighbors are getting beamed down to them, then you can try some vaguely dodgy-seeming Russian software called SkyGrabber. According to SkyGrabber's inadvertently funny, maybe reverse translated from the Russian website, quote, "You'll get new movie, best music, and funny pictures for free." The software costs about $26. Now, this is our sort of our hoopty mock-up of the type of setup that we're talking about, courtesy of the creative folks in our props department. Laptop, fake satellite dish, and assume that we've loaded up the SkyGrabber software. So we just point that dish up at the sky, and as the website says, SkyGrabber makes your life more exciting and interesting. It's neat, right? And it's a lot more besides just neat, it turns out. Because insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm guessing Pakistan, are using a rig basically as fancy as this to grab stuff like this. Live video feeds from unmanned Predator drones. Predator drones that are looking supposedly for them. But with $26 worth of software, the people the military and CIA are hunting can see everything the military and CIA see. And if you're one step ahead of me here, yes, they can see it with something as simple as SkyGrabber, because the video feeds coming off the Predator drones are not encrypted. You need a password to buy toe socks on Amazon.com, but military surveillance footage, not encrypted. The story was first reported today in the Wall Street Journal. But it turns out the U.S. military has known that its surveillance footage was vulnerable to hackers as long ago as the Bosnian War back in the 90s. But according to the Journal today, quote, the Pentagon assumed local adversaries wouldn't know how to exploit it. The Pentagon appeared to have gotten that one wrong. The Journal reporting today that the U.S. military apprehended a Shiite militant in Iraq last year and found files full of intercepted drone feeds on his laptop. Then in July, they found more pirated videos on more laptops, and they concluded that they had a problem on their hands. Our next guest calls this the worst security breach that has become known in years. And although the military says it's working on a fix, there's apparently going to be a lot more to work on. The U.S. Air Force reportedly in the process of buying as many as 375 Reaper drones, a faster, more souped-up version of the Predator. These come at a cost of about $10 or $12 million a pop. And the Reaper, the new and improved model just coming online now, same vulnerability. Ugh. Joining us now is Noah Shachtman, contributing editor for Wired magazine and editor of Wired.com's Danger Room blog. Noah, good to see you here again. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let me just ask you first if I got the basics of this right. It's really this easy for anybody to see through the eyes of these aircraft?
Well, there's probably a little bit more to the pointing of the satellite, and there might be a little bit more software involved. Mm-hmm. But in some ways, it's actually more the scenario you've described is more difficult, because actually that direct TV signal where you get all your channels from, well, that signal's encrypted. So it might actually be harder to steal direct TV than to steal the drone footage.
Yeah. Is the issue encryption? Because it's the reason it seems hard to believe that it's encryption is because it seems like such an easy thing to fix. Is there a downside to encryption tactically that makes this harder to fix than it seems?
No, basically what was going on was everybody wanted to get more and more drones into the field during the beginning of the Afghanistan war, through the beginning of the Iraq war, and as both wars have continued. So you want to get more and more drone feeds down to the troops on the ground. Mm-hmm. And the way they've done that is with these terminals called rovers. It's basically beaming that satellite footage down to your laptop. And in order to crank these things out quick, they decided not to encrypt them because they were using a lot of commercial software, and they just decided to go with the quick and dirty way.
Well, can encryption be put on this as an aftermarket effect at this point?
You can load on some new encrypted transmitters, and I think those new Reapers will probably come with encrypted transmitters. But the thing is, until all the receivers are encrypted too, and there's thousands and thousands of them, it won't work out. So it may take years to fix this problem.
So wait, so the locking it up is easier than unlocking it, or at least there are more transceivers than there are transponders, and so it's going to be harder to make sure that people can read encrypted transmissions, which of course is the critical thing for troops in the field. That's the problem, that you can change the technology on one side easier than you can on the other?
Correct.
Doesn't this seem like the sort of thing that could be solved with some sort of DARPA trick involving Twitter and balloons and $10,000?
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think. I mean, the really kind of ridiculous part is, like, for me to go to Creech Air Force Base, where they fly these drones out of in Nevada, I had to sign all these waivers. I had to get a secret security clearance for a couple of days. I had to go through big, thick doors with big, thick guards, you know, into rooms where there are flashing lights saying, "Ooh, scary civilian here," and I couldn't take pictures of the footage or anything like that. But then...
You could have sat in your car in the parking lot with rabbit ears and a 1995 Mac and watched what they were doing.
That's right. It's kind of like they bolted shut the front door but left the back door wide open.
I know that you did some follow-up reporting on this today. You think this problem applies to more than just drones? This is all surveillance that we're doing with aircraft?
Yeah, in fact, drones are just kind of the tip of the iceberg. The hundreds of planes that are flying, you know, regular manned aircraft that are flying over Iraq and Afghanistan every day, pretty much all of them appear to have the same problem, too, because those rover receivers are unencrypted. So if you want to send down to them, you've got to be unencrypted, too.
How big of a technological leap are we talking about? I mean, it's one thing to be able to see what the military and the CIA can see. How big of a leap would it be before hackers could jam those video feeds or swap in false feeds of things that aren't really happening but look like that, or even control the drone or crash the drone?
Swapping in false feeds, that's a pretty serious technical leap. And controlling the drone, that's like 3 or 4 leaps more, because those signals actually go in a very particular direction, whereas a lot of the feeds go in every direction. That's why you can pick it up.
Okay. Thank you. Noah Shachtman, editor of Wired.com's Danger Room blog, and somebody who apparently makes me smarter every time I talk to you. This is a real pleasure, Noah. Thanks.
My pleasure.